You're listening to XVGM Radio. Welcome to XVGM Radio, where the bits keep coming. I'm Justin.
And I'm Mike.
This is episode 34, special with Super Thrash Bros.
Well. Been a long time coming to get these guys on our show. We are so excited today. We're always excited, for the record.
I mean, in general,
In general. Like, I'm always just, boom, ready to go.
Sometimes it's too much.
Sometimes I need to tone it down. But today, we will not be toning it down because we have the awesome video game music cover band Super Thrash Bros. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show. We have three of you of, I guess you could say, what, 5, 6?
Sure.
What's the official number of people in your band?
There's officially 6 of us.
Okay.
So we got half of us here.
Awesome.
Nice.
So, introduce yourselves, if you may, please.
I'm Eric. I play drums and dress up as Ness.
I'm Ryan. Y'all probably know me as Megaman, and I shred the 7-string.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm Nick. I play the bass, and I wear semi-dress clothes because they're rather big. Well, you probably know the mask more than anything else, so
yes. So, and then we have the other members, which are Ant, who is Nick. Is that your brother? I noticed the last name is the same.
Yep, yes it is.
Okay.
It's my younger brother.
And he's on guitar, and he also dresses up as Shiek.
Yep.
Okay. And then we have Bryan Carroll, who is the master hand, who is basically like the announcer for you guys, because you guys don't speak really during the show. It's more like him kind of pumping everybody up. And then you have Ed Connolly, who plays Crazy Hand. Basically, Bryan Carroll looks like, I guess you could say, like a grown-up Ness from Earthbound.
I actually, so when we saw you guys at Too Many Games, I completely mistook Bryan Carroll for Markiplier.
Okay.
He kind of looks like Markiplier.
Yeah, Bryan, who plays Master Hand, he has one glove on, and he is the master hand from Smash Brothers. If you guys are catching this whole thing, Super Thrash Brothers, Super Smash Brothers. Yes.
There might be some theming going on, maybe.
Just a little.
Slightly. And then
it all comes together.
And so Bryan has like the glasses and the short hair, and he's very like prim and proper looking. He has the coat, like the long,
the jacket.
Yeah, the long jacket. And then Ed Connolly is a long-haired dude, like looks like a heavy metal dude, and he's got a Donkey Kong tie on, and he just runs around the crowd, getting everybody pumped throughout the entire show for the most part. And I gotta say, it's a little weird when you're initially watching it, because you don't realize that he's part of the show initially.
Yeah, I did not. I was just like, who is this guy? He is really into Super Thrash Bros.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We're like, wow, did they like pay that guy?
You always gotta have that plant in the crowd.
Yeah.
And it worked out really well. Like,
It
he was
did.
running around through the crowd and just like getting people hyped, getting people pumped, getting people up and like dancing and
Yeah.
stuff. Like he really did his job getting people moving.
And he's a thin guy, and so I'm wondering, this guy has a great workout ethic. He just shows up, he runs around like crazy during shows, and he could eat Taco Bell afterwards. Like, he's good, right?
Wow, it's like you know him.
So we are today going to be doing something a little bit laid back. Normally on our shows we do very in-depth stuff, very in-depth themes where we go into the games and we go into this huge ordeal with the composers, which we're still going to touch on the composers a little bit, but most of this episode is us just going to be chatting with Super Thrash Bros, finding out a little bit of what they do and how they do it, and get a little background on them and see a little bit of what's to come in the future for them.
Yeah.
But we're going to be playing some super nostalgic bangers. Super Thrash Brothers, what they do is they do medleys. So, as you just heard, we came in on a Kirby medley that they threw together, and it's off of their latest album, which is called Master of Buttons.
Which is a play on Master of... That's a Metallica album?
Puppets,
that's the one.
Okay.
I'm assuming, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah.
All right, then.
Is Lars listening to this?
Oh, good call.
We might have to sue them.
Yeah, that's true.
We're going to have to cut this whole bit.
Right. So, what's the first Kirby game that you guys have ever played?
Kirby Superstar for SNES.
Air Ride was my first foray into the Kirby franchise, and only foray.
I have yet to play a Kirby game, to be honest with you.
Oh man, you
See, I might look like a poser right now, but just wait until a little later into the interview.
I'm surprised the other guys aren't like, yo, dude, like, what's the deal? You guys, you gotta play Kirby if you're playing a Kirby jam. Like,
I mean, Kirby's in Super Smash Brothers, so that counts as a Kirby game, right?
yeah, technically.
Kinda.
Even though I cosplay as Ness, I have never played an Earthbound game in my life.
I am not personally an Earthbound fan, but I've heard plenty of the music throughout Super Smash Brothers, so I'm kind of with you there.
To be honest, we don't even play video games. We're more like jocks, and we're into like football and stuff like that.
It's like Thrash Bros Confession Hour.
Right. It's like Red Shoe Diaries or whatever.
we're capitalizing on the nerds just like we took their lunch money.
All right, so now, how did you guys come together as a band?
Oh boy.
Well, back like almost 5 years ago at this point, discovered like a whole bunch of these bands. I think I saw like a Bitbrick. That's pretty cool. So I kind of just went and made a Facebook post, and I was like, is there anybody that wants to play video game music? Serious inquiries only. And then these two guys showed up.
How long did it take you guys to kind of form this idea of, hey, we're going to take the Super Smash Brothers thing and we're going to kind of turn it on its head and we're going to, kind of cosplay as the characters? Like, how did that all come about?
That took quite a bit, actually. It didn't all come together as one at one time. It was just kind of, you pick one thing up, and as you're going, you notice along the way that multiple things cohesively came together, and you just kind of add one more thing to it. Like, we say we have like 5 songs down, and we notice they're all in Smash Bros. And then we're just like, oh, well, let's let's keep doing that. Like,
Nice.
just keep adding them in.
That's cool. Well, it's a very unique idea that you guys have come up with, and I don't think anybody else has done anything like this, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
They haven't. I've checked.
Definitely not with the level of like theming and dedication to just the one franchise that we have now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, the only band that I can think of is the X Hunters, because they actually dress up like the Mega Man X
yeah.
squad, like Vile and Zero.
I was gonna say the Proto Men were like that too, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
I
I think that was the Proto Men. We've actually played with X Hunters before, and they did not dress up in cosplay.
Really? Oh, man.
Wow.
Maybe that's changed, because like in years prior, I've seen them like 3 or 4 times, and each time I saw them, they used to dress up the full get up with the armor and everything. It looks super rad.
I mean, I would imagine it's probably a lot. They probably don't do it every show.
They've also significant.
Yeah, it was a more low profile show, so it's totally possible.
That's true. Like when they play like MagFest and stuff like that, I'm sure
That's what I was gonna say. Like
put on the
any like the really big stuff, like really big man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is that a Mega Man boss?
Yeah,
really big man?
I think it's from Rocco.
Is it? Oh yeah, yeah.
Really big man. But I was gonna say the Proto Men, but even then they used to be just Mega Man stuff. Now they do all sorts of things. They've kind of moved on from the from the one track thing.
That's true. Yeah.
But either way, like the combination of metal and Super Smash Brothers stuff, wouldn't have thought it, but it works really well. I also have to say, I like how your show opens with like just an empty stage, and then what was it? I think Master Hand is just like picking you guys up and putting you on stage, and, like positioning you and putting all the stuff on. I had a really good laugh with that.
Yeah.
That was just supposed to be a small little hat tip to the intro of the N64. Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Where it just pulls all the toys out of the toy box, and it snaps, and they all just start coming to life. It was just a quick idea. At one point, we just kind of stuck with it.
That's really clever.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
Yeah. All right, so let's move into our first track of the episodes. We talked a little bit about Kirby, so we're going to move into the next Smash Brothers theme track. So the whole purpose of this episode and what we're going to do is we are going to play one of the Super Thrash Brothers medleys, and then we're going to follow it up with a selection of a song that they played in their medley. And we're going to take that and we're going to put it and play it for you guys, and just to kind of showcase a song from the medley.
Yeah.
From the actual game.
So we each kind of picked our favorite piece of the medley and pulled out the original composition.
Right, the original song from the game itself. Right,
Yep.
right.
So
from the franchise, right.
Right. So the first track that we're going to play from Super Thrash Brothers is their Metroid melody.
Right.
And then we're going to come back and listen to specifically Brinstar from the NES. All right, that was the Metroid track from Super Thrash Bros. And now we're going to hear Brinstar from Metroid. That came out in the NES in 1986 and was composed by Hirokazu Tanaka. Welcome back. That was Metroid on the NES from 1986. The track was Brinstar, composed by Hirokazu Tanaka. And before that, we heard the Metroid medley by our guest, Super Thrash Bros.
Yay!
I'm going to say this after every track, so I'm just going to say it once now and get out of the way. That was really metal. That was awesome. Just the things that I picked up on listening to it again. You guys have a lot of really interesting things that you do with your music. I mean, for one, you do time changes like it's nobody's business. I heard it, I noticed it, and it was really slick, really well done. And the sound effects that you guys use are really cool. Mike and I were saying during the break that the echo effect kind of gives it a live show feeling, and I agree, but I got a different feeling at first. It considering the track is Metroid, and we have Brinstar in there. It kind of made me feel like I was in the game. Like it
kind of made me feel like I was in a Metroid.
Well, hiding from Metroid.
Inside of Metroid.
Feel like Metroid.
Yeah, well, because Metroid isn't the type of game where there's a million things on screen and they're all coming at you. It's not like a bullet hell. Like it feels a little bit lonely. Like there's stuff there, but the
isolation.
Game, yeah, there's isolation involved, and it feels really lonely. And listening to the track as you guys performed it. The echo kind of makes me feel like I'm like in a cave hiding from a Metroid, like on Brinstar.
I'm gonna just say that I think this is probably the best Metroid medley for a video game music cover band since the mini bosses.
Oh,
yeah.
I
mean, wow. Means a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like if you listen to the time signatures and the time changes, that specifically is merged like so well from song to song to song. It flows so naturally. There's no like, oh, I'm just gonna take you out of that song and then like push you into another one. It doesn't feel like that. It feels very natural that these songs are moving together, almost like waves kind of moving along the shore together. So yeah, very poetic.
Yeah, trying to make everything smooth is a huge priority of ours because everything we do is a medley. So we really like being able to swap from song to song smoothly.
Right. And you kind of have to when your shtick is medleys. I mean, like you get good at them. And I think that these guys are killing it when it comes to medleys as far as like producing them, because they're saying to themselves, how can we get from point A to point B to point C to point D without making it sound too jarring?
Yeah, because I mean, if you can tell where the tracks change, then it's not a medley, as far as I'm concerned. Like if I should be able to point out, that's Kraid's Lair, that's Brinstar. Yeah. But I shouldn't be able to say like, oh, hey, we just changed tracks, because it doesn't, it's jarring, right? And in this one, like you transition from one piece into the next like flawlessly, and it's awesome.
Now here's my thing though. Listening to this version of Brinstar and comparing it with what these guys have done, it is like night and day. I feel like, of course, with the original Metroid, it to me at least was the sort of game where even if you listen to the soundtrack outside of the game, you don't truly feel the music unless you're actually playing the very first Metroid.
Right, because it's audio and video.
It is
oral and visual, yeah.
It is a very specific feeling that first Metroid game gives you. It is unlike any other game that I've played. I think the closest that I've come is probably like something out of the Castlevania series, maybe like Castlevania 2 or Super Castlevania 4, where like you can listen to the soundtrack separate, but you're not going to get the full experience unless you're actually physically playing the game.
Right.
And to me, that's so important, because these guys did kind of capture a little bit of that isolation element that you mentioned, earlier when you were talking about it. So I do agree with you that I feel like even though listening to this track is a little jarring because you're going from this very, very modern sound with guitar, like live instruments, guitar and everything, to this like chiptune sound, it is a kind of darker sound that you're kind of left with. Yeah. Whereas the Brinstar song itself is kind of a very happy-go-lucky song in a way. It's probably the bounciest song of the entire NES Metroid.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Dun 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 dun. I mean,
it was like purposefully the only like uplifting tune on the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean everything else just sounds like you're gonna die any second now.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of atmospheric stuff in the Metroid game.
That's the thing with Metroid. It was sitting down and picking songs for it. It's like, not to give away too much, but for most of these we actually sit down and we'll have like 10-15 songs per series.
Sure.
And we'll just pick a couple out of them to make a medley out of. And this was one of those situations where you have to pick. And I'll sit down and listen to Metroid soundtracks for hours straight while I'm doing things.
Sure.
And it is very dark, gloomy, empty, like lonely, hopeless, and it's embodying that and making it immersive.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I mean, if you think about it, like this specific song is the most rocking song. Like it's the most like rock and roll kind of like heavy metal song at its core. It's the most song-like out of any of the other songs. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, if you listen to, like, Ridley, for example, I mean, yeah, that's an awesome, like, heavy metal song. I mean, like, heck, there's an entire band called Metroid Metal that we totally forgot about. But they don't really do medleys. I mean, some of their songs, they do medleys, but for the most part, they're just doing one song from a game. You know what I mean? From one of the games. So, I love Metroid Metal. I've seen them multiple times. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking Metroid Metal at all. I think they're great, but I think like these guys are doing a better job as far as medleys go, especially transitioning from song to song.
Yes.
I think there's maybe one or two songs that Metroid Metal does off the top of my head where I'm like, holy crap. And that would probably be like Space Pirates. Yeah. Like the Space Pirate theme that they do is just like so heavy.
That's fair, yeah.
But that is it. So Hip Tanaka. I mean, Hirokazu Hip Tanaka.
we've talked about this man at length.
Yes.
So let's just find...
Let's talk about him again.
Yeah, exactly. Let's find 3 things on here. So, did Gumshoe 1986. He was uncredited for that. Nintendo World Championship 1990 in 1990. Sound Composer was uncredited for that. And one more uncredited thing. Nintendo Campus Challenge 1991 and 1991. He was uncredited for that.
Okay.
I'm just trying to give him credit where he didn't get credit.
Sure. Much respect to Mr. Hip Tanaka.
Yeah.
All right.
So now from the dark to the
light.
fast pace.
Yes, to the speedy. We're going to go ahead and play F-Zero. This is the medley from Super Thrash Bros. And then we'll come back with a track from F-Zero X. That was F-Zero, the medley from Super Thrash Bros, and this track that we're going to listen to is from F-Zero X. It came out on the N64 in 1998. The track is called Mute City. It's by Taro Bando and Hajime Wakai. Hey, you're back. Is your face still there, or did it get melted off by the F-Zero-ness of everything that we just heard? That was F-Zero. First off, we had the Super Thrash Bros. Medley, and then afterwards we played the F-Zero X game song Mute City, and it came out on the N64 in 1998, and it's by Taro Bando and Hajime Wakai.
Nice.
Yeah. You know why I picked these specifically? I picked F-Zero's X's version of Mute City because I wanted to hear a metal version combative with, like, you know, comparison with the F-Zero medley that these guys have done.
Right.
And they hold up. They both hold up, and they both have different elements that they took. I actually really prefer Super Thrash Brothers at points. Mm-hmm. When they are doing the kind of call and answer parts with the guitars, and they panned it back and forth. I really like that, but I really love that in the F-Zero X song for Mute City. Right away, they kick off with the dual harmony guitars with the slightly off octave, higher octave.
Yeah.
They have and then the like slightly lower. So that I absolutely love in that version. So both versions, if I could somehow combine them together, that would be brilliant. So that's what you guys should clearly do, is re-release this album and then combine those two. Just
tweak that one thing.
Just for my amusement. I mean,
just for Mike's amusement.
Get Pondo and Wakai on the phone. We'll work it out with them.
There we go.
Maybe one day we could go back and do the same tunes, but like the future version. Like go through the F-Zero X version.
Oh, that'd be cool.
The X version.
That'd be really neat. It'd be like a Super Thrash Brothers remastered, almost, or even like you start out with the SNES version, and then like develop it into the N64 version. Sure.
And then you that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Super
And
Thrash.
with the Mario Kart 8 version.
Yeah.
Yes.
Super Thrash Bros. Melee. That's got to be the name of the album. I mean, that makes sense, right? It's the second album, like that.
Well, we've already got plans for the second album's name. Don't worry about that.
Oh man, it's gonna be called like Baylay, and every song is gonna be about Justin Baylay from Metroid.
Oh my god.
Yes, every song. It'll be like a love letter,
That's
like
a stretch, my man.
Yeah, like Mr. Fantastic, because, yikes.
Listen, nothing is a stretch when it comes to XVGM Radio. All right, we are all about stretching, right, Justin?
I'm gonna add a cricket sound effect right there.
Okay. All right.
Speaking of albums, though, I just something that I remembered that I thought was kind of funny. Your current album is called Master of Buttons. Despite me having read that many times, every time I went to talk about this album, I kept thinking it was called Masher of Buttons.
I thought you were gonna say something totally different.
I don't want to know.
I thought you were gonna say Master of Butts.
Master of Buttons. You would go there.
I would. I mean, that would be a cool name for an album.
We considered it.
Master of Butts.
Master of Butts.
It wouldn't be a lie.
It lost a 2-3 vote.
Oh, man. That's rough.
Oh, man.
I could just picture them selling their album, like, I'll hang out at, like, too many games or whatever. And somebody comes up and they're like, oh, well, yeah, I saw you guys live. You guys are really good. You got an album? Yeah, we got an album. Oh, what's it called? Master of Butts. All right, I'm going to go now. F-Zero, what is your fond memories of this franchise? Or do you have any? Or is this just like very similar to the Kirby song, like, hey, we're just going to pick a track from this because
because it's awesome.
Yeah.
I've put many an hour of childhood into F-Zero into the SNES version. I never had any of the other versions. That was the one that I had.
And what about
Ryan? You had that one too, right? I had to borrow that from you for a little bit.
I played one of this Ness. Actually, I think you may still have it now that we're coming to think of it.
Definitely know I gave that back because I had to buy my own version.
You guys go to so many cons because you play at cons. You clearly had to have go and pick up like a copy of F-Zero, but like, I'll just grab this while I'm here.
I actually have a list on my desktop, a notepad of all kinds of games that I'm on the hunt for.
Oh,
Nice.
all us collectors do. I mean, well, all us. Let's put it this way: all us game players do, regardless of if you collect or don't collect. you know, most people are like, you know what, there's a game that I'm looking for, and I'm going to go to a convention, I'm going to pick it up. Did you guys all grow up together, or, like, how do you all know each other? I know, like, two of your brothers, obviously, the Ant and Nick, but what about the rest of you?
I didn't meet Nick until we both showed up at Ryan's house for the first STV practice.
Okay.
And I met Ryan through a friend that I met at County College.
Okay.
Nice.
That's cool.
And first time I ever saw Ryan, I'm pretty sure he was drunk in an American flag Speedo. And
Nice.
that was the only other time I met him before that first.
Oh, man.
That's the only time to meet somebody, really. I mean,
Drunk in an American flag Speedo?
Sorry to out you like that, Ryan, but...
I have no shame. There's hard evidence out there, so I can't hide it.
Hey, that's a blessing. I wish I met Justin while wearing a American flag Speedo.
We might not be friends if that had happened, considering our first meeting was at a was at a party.
Yes.
I guess it would have been very similar. I would have met you. You would have been drunk in a Speedo.
I mean, we definitely got drunk at that party, the very first party that I met
we did.
you at.
That was the point of that party.
That was the point of that party, but definitely there was no... There
were no
was
Speedos.
There were no Speedos, but a girl did take off her top. Do you recall this?
I do, because it happened at every party Sean threw.
That is true. Yes, absolutely.
Hey, you guys got that. I got Ryan in a Speedo.
Hey,
I'm gonna have to find a way to work it into my next cosplay for the band.
There you go. There you go.
Do you
You'd be like a Megaman villain.
American man?
American flag man.
We'll just paint you blue, and you can just still be Mega Man. We'll just put like a
a
little cloth diaper.
Isn't there a Shulk costume where he's just in underwear? I mean, that's close enough, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, Shulk is in his no, he's in a bathing suit, I think, in Smash Brothers for the Wii U, which I think they brought over that costume for the new one.
No one I know plays Shulk, so who knows?
Oh, I like Shulk. I like playing a Shulk. Oh yeah, you know what? Let's
One
ask
person
you.
I know plays Shulk.
So did you guys pick personas based on your favorite character that you like to play as? I know that doesn't really work with Skull Kid because you can't play a Skull Kid, but like Ness, Megaman, Shiek, like did you guys pick that based on those characters that they're your favorite to play as in Smash?
Well, it was kind of different because like when we first started and we did the costume thing, there were other people in the band at the time, so like there have been a few lineup changes, but I'm not sure how it started initially. Like as me personally, I didn't have the whole costume until about a year ago. I was just the Majora's Mask. That was all I had.
And I gotta say, that mask is super cool.
Oh my god.
Because it has light up eyes.
Yeah.
And like the yellow eyes like light up. It's like seeing him move around on stage with it is like really trippy. It's cool just to watch him. Like, don't watch anybody. Well, you can watch everybody else, but like specifically watch him for the eyes. It's super cool.
I have to say,
it's pulled some crowds for sure.
Yeah. I think the mask is really cool. I have to say, when we were watching you guys at Too Many Games, I was mostly focused on watching Shiek just shred that guitar.
Sure.
I was like, wow, there is some serious skill going on there too. And I mean, obviously everybody has sort of their time in the limelight. And when I can't remember which song it was on, but there was at one point where like Megaman was front and center and just killing it, and I was blown away by that. But in the beginning, the first couple of songs you guys played, I guess Shiek must have had either more of an upfront role in the in those songs or something. But it was crazy. Like I play guitar not very well, but I understand the concept of what it takes to play some of that stuff, and I was just speechless.
You're probably thinking of the Bowser's Castle tapping that he shreds. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah.
Let's talk about the composers. We have two composers for this one, Taro Bando and Hajime Wakai. So Taro Bando, I'm just going to pick three random games. The first game that started off for credits was Famicom Mukashi Banashi Shin Onigashima, which came out in 1987, and that is a Famicom Disk System text adventure game. Interesting. Then we'll go with Stunt Race FX, was the sound composer on that one in 1994. Let's go with something a little more modern from the next game. How about Mario Superstar Baseball in 2005? They've done a ton of other things for Nintendo, but mostly sound design and sound effects and sound supervisors. So That is the role that they have mostly played. Hajime Wakai, very similar in the sense that they started off doing composition and then kind of moved into sound supervisory roles, similar to Koji Kondo, Lord and Master of all VGM. Started off with Yoshi's Story in 1997 doing sound effects, but was the composer on Star Fox 64 that following year. Followed it up with F-Zero X in 1998. And later on, they did the music for Pikmin 3 in 2013. So that's just a few games. They mostly have stuck with, like, Star Fox, though, for the most part. Like Star Fox 64 and Star Fox Command. They did music on both of those, as well as supervisory roles on Star Fox Zero and Star Fox Guard. So, all right, so let's move into our next pick. So, Justin, this is your choice. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so speaking of both Koji Kondo and Bowser's Castle, we are going to hear the Mario medley from Super Thrash Bros, and then we will hear something from Super Mario World. I'll talk about that when we come back. welcome back. That was the Mario medley from Super Thrash Bros. And now we are going to hear Super Mario World on the SNES. Came out in 1990. The track is Bowser's Castle, composed by Koji Kondo.
XVGM Radio.
Welcome back to XVGM Radio's spotlight on the Super Thrash Brothers. The track that we just heard was Bowser's Castle, which came out in 1990 on the game Super Mario World, which was on the SNES. It was composed by Koji Kondo. It was not Larry's Castle.
It's not Larry's Castle, but for the sake of all that is good in the world, when you play this game and when you hear this song, you have to sing It's Larry's Castle.
So I have to say, I've never sang that, and I'm doing just fine.
You are not living to your fullest.
I'm living my
I'm
best
going
life.
to continue to not live to my fullest then.
You guys need to do it live.
Oh my
So
God.
when you're playing it, like one of you should be on the mic, like Master Hand could be on the mic and be like, "It's Larry's Castle." And he's got to like wiggle his fingers too, like it's all spooky.
Yo, make it a thing. Start that chant the next time you see us.
There you go, there you go.
I'm gonna do it.
I want to watch this because I just want to see how hard you fall on your face.
You know what I'll do is,
You're gonna be like, "What are you talking
We could
about?"
plan this out. All right, so what I'll do is, I could probably take Crazy Hand, right? You think I could take him in a battle?
I don't think so.
You don't think
He's
so?
crazy.
He is pretty crazy.
No, hard no.
Yeah. I'm like,
I don't know, man.
I only met him the one time after the show on
Yeah.
what was it, Friday night when we were hanging out after too many games.
Yeah.
And just in the short time that we hung out with him and talked with him, I was just like, man, this guy could kill me in a second.
All right, so what I'll do is I'll bring my own glove and I'll kind of join him and we'll be best friends forever, and then we'll hold hands, gloved hands, and we'll run around the room screaming It's Larry's Castle. I think this could work.
All right, this is turning into a cult now, and I'm not comfortable with it.
Sorry, let's get back to what we normally do and talk
Sure.
about the music.
Sure.
So I have to say, the Luigi's Mansion piece in the beginning of this is really awesome. Trying to pick between that and the Bowser's Castle theme for me, I didn't know which one I really wanted to go with. I ended up going with Bowser's Castle, admittedly because nostalgia. I have way more nostalgia for Super Mario World than I do for Luigi's Mansion.
Okay.
But again, the transition was really well done. If you know the two tracks, it's really easy to sort of spot where they transition, but that's not to say that it's a hard or a jarring transition, because you have the ending of that Luigi's Mansion song, and then it kind of holds and sustains, and then you hear the beginning of the Bowser's Castle come in, and it fits really well, because I mean they're both spooky, creepy, like
Sure.
dark.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I never would have thought to put these two together. I never would have. Like I said, I don't really have any nostalgia for Luigi's Mansion, so I don't really listen to the music from that at all. But hearing the two of them put together in this, it was like, why do I not listen to that? It's so good. But I'm getting it flack for this, but I think it's just your version of the song is really good.
Hey, we're not going to give you any flack for that.
Yeah, no, but plenty of VGM listeners are going to say, hey, but the original track is not bad. I just, like I said, I don't really have any attachment to it, so.
Oh, see, I love Luigi's Mansion. And don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
Mario World, favorite Mario of all time. Like, hands down, nobody will ever tell me that any other Mario is better. I mean, they can, but they're wrong.
Right.
But Luigi's Mansion is a really, really fun game. The whole series is great. But specifically, what I wanted to mention is obviously intentionally going with those very low bass tones. You know, starting off, first off, it's very difficult to keep someone's attention with that Luigi's Mansion song live. So you guys, first off, get major kudos for being able to do that as far as the song goes, because when it starts off, it's that do, and it's a very slow building song because of that. Obviously, fans of the franchise are going to love it, but if you're just kind of walking into the show and you have no nostalgia for Luigi's Mansion, you're gonna be like, what are these guys doing? But I love that it ties in with that low kind of growling bass. You know, you get the smooth movement from do 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 do, and then it moves into the wow, wow with that bass line for Mario World. It's a really, really solid combination. I mean, obviously these guys are, as they said, they sit down, they pick, 13, 14 tracks or whatever, and they figure out which ones work the best, and that is the best way to do medleys. So, again, knocking it out of the park. Good
Seriously.
Stuff. Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
So I'm curious as to, Mike asked how you guys all got together. I'm curious how you guys all got into playing music. How did you get into the bass, guitar, drums, and all that stuff?
Like what's your musical background, basically?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I got a guitar when I was like 13 or something like that for my birthday, and that's when I started playing guitar, and I was all into like classic rock and like alternative. That's pretty much all I listened to at the time.
Nice.
Yeah, I watched my friend play drums in like an 8th grade talent show or something like that, and I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. I could get into that. And then my best friend was like, hey, we're starting a band, and since you expressed like even remote interest in drums, you're the drummer now.
That's awesome. Just throw you into the deep end.
Yeah.
He's always been that way. It's just, it go. If you show that kind of interest, you go for it.
Oh
That's
my God.
funny.
That's awesome.
So
I gotta thank him for that.
since my brother's not here to explain it himself, I think it's only fair, since both of us sort of picked it up at the same time, for me to explain it anyway. When, what was I, about 12? I got a guitar when I was about 12, so my brother was about 10, I don't know, 9, 10, and he got drums, actually, at the same time. We both picked it up, and we started playing stuff like, Clapton, classic rock, earlier stuff, and we didn't get into metal until, like, much later, Metallica, Megadeth, Pantera,
nice.
All that stuff. And then in the last couple of years, actually for Thrash Bros is when I started playing bass. I never played bass before that.
Oh, wow. Pretty smooth transition from guitar to bass, of course, right?
Kinda. They're two totally different instruments, believe it or not. The way you play them,
Right.
They're completely different.
Yeah.
And he actually picked up guitar around the same time I picked up bass. Because we had other projects at the same time that, we were writing stuff. And when I swapped to bass, he filled in the gap that I was playing. And he didn't join Thrash Bros until like the last year.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I was curious about that because I saw that you had two prior members that were on guitar, and then he jumped on. Was he kind of like going to jump on from the beginning, but you needed to fill the spot, so you got these other two guitarists first? Like, it makes sense in most family-based bands in the sense that when you have family members together, they typically start out together, but interestingly enough, he jumped on years later. So how did that come about?
Actually, he had no interest at first.
Oh, really?
He wanted nothing to do with it. Yeah, we started with somebody else, and then eventually he left, and we had another member come in, and that member left pretty abruptly, and it kind of left us in a tight spot. We had 2 weeks until another show.
Oh, wow.
And so I just asked him, and he said he would do it. He had 2 weeks to learn everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he picked it all up, fit the spot right in, and it's pretty smooth ever since.
Nice. So now that he's been in the band for a little while, does he feel a little bit better about doing it, or is it now something that he's like excited about? Like, oh yeah, no, now I'm in this band.
I think he's a little more into it. He gets to see the other side of it now. He gets to see we travel around a lot. We walk into a building, people know who we are even without costumes on and stuff. The recognition is cool.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, we walk into a building and people leave, so
we know what that's like.
We know what that's like.
A little bit of deodorant goes a long way, man.
It's funny that a lot of people get that moniker for like the game crowd with the deodorant.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how hard is it to put on some deodorant? I mean, really.
I mean, it's one of the easiest things you can do.
So, regarding Mario, what was your first experience with a Mario game?
Super Mario World, and I had it around the same time as F-Zero. I have countless hours into it. Actually, some of my earliest memories are Super Mario.
Both launch titles, too.
My first Mario game was actually Mario on like the Game Boy, the original Game Boy before Game Boy Color.
Mario Land.
Oh, okay. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, I played the OG at that same friend's house. I played the OG one. There was that Duck Hunt. We played Home Alone. It's just I got to experience the original thing firsthand.
Nice.
Very good. There's something to be said for the OG Mario.
Yeah, for sure. So Koji Kondo, again, we've talked about Koji Kondo countless times, but the father of VGM.
I'm going to do what I did with Hip Tanaka and pick some uncredited items from his inventory or resume here. So we'll go with Volleyball 1986. He was uncredited for sound. Nintendo Campus Challenge 1991. He was uncredited as a sound composer.
Going with all those Nintendo World Championship games.
There's not a whole lot that he was uncredited for, which is good because he deserves all the credit.
So let's move into my next pick. This is Megaman. This is going to be the Super Thrash Bros. Medley, and then we'll play a little track from a Megaman game afterwards. All right, that was Super Thrash Bros medley of Megaman. Now we're going to play a track from Megaman 2, good old Megaman 2. This came out in the NES in 1988. This track is called Flashman, and it's by Takashi Tateishi, Manami Matsume, and Yoshihiro Sakaguchi. You are back, and your face is still melted off from the F-Zero track, and then you put your face back on, and your face just remelted right off from Megaman. That was from...
It's a puddle.
Yeah, it's a puddle. It's a liquid blurb.
Liquid face.
Invest in Sharpie.
Yeah.
Liquid.
So that was Super Thrash Bros. Medley of Megaman music. That was also Megaman 2 from the NES, which came out in 1988. That was Flashman's theme by Takashi Tateishi, Manami Matsume, and Yoshihiro Sakaguchi. So, first off, the comparison between, again, chiptune and live instrumentation is always a little jarring sometimes, but there's a few takeaways from this one. One is that I really, really like Dr. Wily's theme by these guys. I think that the way that they do it, the instrumentation, the speed, and the dexterity of the guitar playing specifically really stands out. Also the bass lines. So, Nick, do you play with a pick?
Yeah, depends on the song, but for that one I do.
Okay. I would imagine so, because there's a lot of galloping motion going on there, so I would imagine it's unless you're Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, you're not playing something like this without a pick. It's very, very difficult.
He could secretly be that. You don't know.
He could
Yes, Steve from Iron Maiden, I am not.
but still, like, fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, speed and energy on that. You know, trying to keep up with those guitars, I would imagine, as a bass player, must be extremely difficult. But with a track like this, when you've got somebody who's able to keep up like that, it's really, really top notch.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You are welcome. So, what made you pick mostly Mega Man 2 for this? Because I think this whole medley is Mega Man 2, right? There's nothing else in there. I think it's all Mega Man 2.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Sometimes the Mega Man music kind of blurs together.
It does. I think that was sort of a combination of Ryan absolutely loving Mega Man and me not knowing anything about Mega Man, so I kind of held him back a little bit and wouldn't let him do other Mega Man games because I was still trying to figure out Mega Man 2, and it was just a bit of everything.
So that's an interesting question then for Mega Man. What was all of your first Mega Man games? Or if you didn't have any experience, did you end up playing it after you started listening to this?
My only Mega Man experience is watching Ryan play Mega Man.
Okay then. And when you were watching him, were you pretty impressed by his Mega Man skill?
Just the sheer knowledge of Mega Man baffles me.
I mean, you just jump and shoot. It's not that hard.
Jump and shoot, man.
Jump and shoot. So,
Yeah, my first Mega Man was Mega Man 8 on the PlayStation, and then I played Mega Man X on an emulator that my uncle burned for me, and then I played Mega Man X5 at my friend's house like one time, and that's all
I'm the Mega Maniac over here.
Nice.
I started with Mega Man 2, but like Mega Man X is by far my favorite series of Mega Man games.
Okay.
But I've dabbled in all of them, Mega Man Zero, Battle Network, just all of them. That's one of my favorite series.
Oh, Zero? Yeah. Those were pretty good, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Mega Man Zero. So, give me your most obscure Mega Man knowledge. What is the most obscure thing you know about Mega Man?
I got nothing off the top of my head.
That's fair.
All right. You got to go with something. Like, Mega Man wears board shorts under his...
That's not knowledge. You just made that up.
It's actually an American flag Speedo.
I knew it.
See?
Yeah. See, that makes sense.
It's all coming together now.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude, had to let him know.
Oh, man. So, Mega Man 3 was my first experience with Mega Man, as I discussed, I think, on the Mike's Picks episode. And I think that was yours, too, right? Mega Man 3 was your first?
Yes, Mega Man 3 is my favorite Mega Man because it was my first Mega Man.
Yeah. It's because Mega Man 3 is the best Mega Man.
I mean,
boom.
that too.
Boom. Come at me.
Debatable.
Oh.
Don't ask him to come at you; he will.
we should probably qualify that the best out of the original Mega Mans, because I do think Mega Man X4 is my favorite out of all of the Mega Mans that are out there.
Okay. Respectable. X4.
That's a fair pick. That's a fair pick.
Yeah. It's not a deep cut, though.
No, not at all.
X6 would be a deep cut.
Oh.
So, I guess we'll talk about the composers then. So, Takashi Tataishi, better known as the Mega Man guy for Mega Man 2. That is the only Mega Man game that he actually composed for, believe it or not, as far as that goes. So, he did LED Storm in 88, which was his follow-up to Mega Man 2. So, Mega Man 2 was actually his very first soundtrack, supposedly. He's labeled as sound programmer, so I don't necessarily know how much he actually composed.
Yeah.
Willow was his follow-up game in 1989, the Capcom game. And then he did a game called Kokoron, which I believe is a Famicom exclusive, which came out in 1991. He's done a bunch of stuff for Capcom, and then he moved over to Konami, actually, and worked on Tiny Toon Adventures 2, Batman the Animated Series, and Batman Returns in 93. And then continued doing stuff for Konami like Vandal Hearts, Parodius, DDR, and then PES 2008, the Pro Evolution Soccer games. He did a bunch of those. We don't really talk about him too much on this show just because we don't play a lot of Mega Man 2, I guess.
Yeah.
But his final credit was Mighty No. 9 in 2016, where he was labeled as a composer. So he's kind of back. Started with Mega Man, kind of came back with a Mega Man clone.
That's
so
cool.
to speak, from
That's
the
fair.
original
Respectable.
artist. Yeah, one of the original artists. And Maname Matsume is a longtime Capcom employee. She started off with the very first Mega Man in 1987 and followed it up with the sequel the next year after that in 88. Then did some sound programming on Legendary Wings in 88, UN Squadron in 89. I can never remember regarding UN Squadron because I think her and Mary Yamaguchi both worked on that soundtrack, and I think they traded off. Like, one of them would do one track on one game, and then the other composer did the full soundtrack. So I can never remember if Manami Matsume did the full soundtrack to UN Squadron. I don't think so. I'm almost positive Mary Yamaguchi did the full soundtrack on that one. Her final soundtrack that she's credited for right now is Mighty Number 9, which again came out in 2016. The final composer that we're going to talk about for Mega Man is Yoshihiro Sakaguchi, who started off with Capcom uncredited as an arranger for 1942, the arcade game which was ported to the NES. They also were uncredited on Trojan and Sansan, which also got ported, I believe, as well. They later on did Forgotten Worlds in 1988, and we're just going to jump around here. Disney's Adventures in the Magic Kingdom, which we talked a little bit about. They were uncredited for that. We talked about that on the Disney Capcom episode with Rhythm and Pixels. And his final game is I Am Setsuna, which came out in 2016. They did sound design on that.
I've heard of that. I don't know much about it, but I've heard about it.
A lot of people compare it to Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
But Yoshihiro Sakaguchi is better known to most VGM-aholics as Yuki-chan's Papa.
Yes. I was just going to say that.
Such a great name.
That's how they're credited in that game, too, I believe.
Yuki-chan's Papa. That's what he's normally credited as. So, yeah. Let's move into a game that I am not really that familiar with.
Yeah, it's a game that we talked about on a previous episode, actually.
Yeah.
So it was a game that we actually talked about on the Game Boy episode. This is the Pokemon medley from Super Thrash Bros. Master of Buttons. right, that was the Pokemon medley from Master of Buttons, and this is going to be the trainer battle theme from Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. Came out on the Game Boy in 1996 and was composed by Junichi Masuda. Back, XVGM listeners, that was my last pick for the episode. That was Trainer Battle from Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow on the Game Boy in 1996, and that track was composed by Junichi Masuda.
That's right. I gotta say, as a non-Pokemon fan, this is the only one I've played, is Pokemon Red, Yellow, Blue, that whole thing.
That generation.
That generation. I never realized how slow that music is when compared... Like when cover bands cover it.
Yeah.
These guys totally blistering, like almost to the point where when you're listening to this, and again, we've talked about the very like perfect nature of those like flowing like transitions between tracks. This soundtrack is way off the charts. Like it is all over the place. It is not an easy...
You're talking about the Pokemon soundtrack?
Yeah, the Pokemon soundtrack. It is not an easy thing for you to transition between track and track and track. And I would say that looking at this from a purely like music fan's like appreciation, not as a Pokemon fan or anything like that.
Yeah.
I feel like, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you guys struggled the most with transitions on this one. And when I say that, I don't mean that your transitions sound bad. I just feel like they take a little more adjusting to kind of when you're merging those tracks, because all this music is so different as far as the time signatures go. Would you guys say that that's accurate?
So it is in a certain aspect, but it kind of fits the idea of Pokemon, because at least with the battle themes, like when battle themes kick off, it's supposed to be as jarring as possible.
That's true.
You're getting thrown into a struggle to the death, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's why the beginning of every Pokemon song, or every Pokemon battle song, it's got that 2 bars of just flurry of notes.
Nonsense. Yeah, that's true.
So that kind of jarring transition, like it makes sense in this context.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, that does open up that other can though, where you are right, because they do have just in the first game alone is like an hour-long soundtrack of just completely different tunes, and if you take almost all of those songs and try to fit one of them with a battle theme, the only other way you can really pull it off effectively is to pull another battle theme on top of it.
Right.
Because if you think that's even a hard transition, try doing anything else with it, because we've tried.
Oh, I can imagine.
We've tried putting like the Pokemon Center theme with it. Like we've tried doing the what's the jingle for winning the battle. Like we've tried all of it. It's not easy to do.
Yeah.
So I guess that would explain why this medley is made up of the title theme, the trainer battle, and the gym leader battle, because those are all sort of like, because the title theme, that's when you first start the game, that's the opening with, what is it, Nidoking and Is it a Jigglypuff? Who's fighting there?
Nidorino and Gengar.
There you go. Thank you. My wife's gonna kill me for not knowing that.
Smushy thing and pointy thing.
Yeah.
That's what I like to call them.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that actually makes a lot of sense, and I never actually realized how long the Pokemon soundtrack was. You said it's like an hour or so, but yeah, now that I'm thinking of it, every town has its own theme.
Yeah,
You've got a couple different battle themes, and yeah, I never really...
Every route even has its own theme, too.
Yep, every route. That's right.
Yeah.
We could get into this conversation for a while, because I spent so long getting into it. Like, they have different... Just when you lock eyes with the trainer, they have different themes for those. The male and female have two different sounds. Just like Team Rocket, like getting into contact with them, they have their own battle theme too. Like there's a whole lot going on with that game. Yeah. And then God forbid you get into Gen 2, like then there's even more variation and so on and so forth the later the generations go.
Yeah, I never realized how sort of in depth they got when they put this together. That's really actually amazing. It makes you want to go back and give another listen to a lot of this stuff.
But it does make you think too, because when you go back to the Game Boy and what it was capable of with audio, it was almost the same thing as the NES, where they were only capable of so many tracks at one time. They were only capable of three synth tracks and one noise track. That's why when you're walking into a wall or something, you'll actually hear it cut out one of the tracks from the music at the same time while sound effects are going off. That whole deal.
That's the same reason that the entire soundtrack doesn't have any drums. So like when you were saying before how the original version sounds slower, it's because the drums aren't there. You know, like when I was writing the parts for this, because I had total freedom to do what I wanted with this. I kind of riffed off what the bass was doing, tried to grab the rhythm from there.
Makes sense, go with the rhythm section, yeah.
And just be back and forth, like, it lends perfectly to a classic thrash beat.
Yeah.
So, like, just the back and forth, it makes it seem a lot faster than it actually is, when realistically it's just double time. It's the exact same tempo.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that does raise that, though. When we play it live, we do play it a lot faster.
Oh, yeah.
than we do with the recording.
That's
we
typically
play
how most bands play with live.
Yeah, we get a little hyped up, and I get carried away, and it's game over from there.
Yeah.
Game over.
Yeah. But the music here kind of is like, at points, like, yeah, you mentioned thrash, and I can totally see that, especially that dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
That I could totally see. But I was going with like if there was such a thing as like progressive punk music.
Progressive
punk. Like a lot of it just is really, really fast and aggressive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's all the craziness that's behind these Pokemon tracks, like especially that spiraling out of control type stuff.
Yeah.
That's all very progressive elements, and it just kind of gets like ham-fisted in with this other thing. It's like a giant turducken. Is that a Pokemon? Turducken?
Close enough.
Yeah.
But they actually have a word for progressive punk. It's called thrash metal.
Nice.
Fair enough. You got me.
Oh, yes.
I was thinking the same thing. I didn't even want to say it.
No, it's perfectly okay. You can tear Mech apart.
Metallica was my first favorite heavy metal band. And I've always only considered them thrash metal, and I never, well, at least, especially their older stuff, and maybe some of their newer stuff.
That definitely changed it.
Well, some of their newer stuff is more along the lines of that.
I was about to ask you which album.
Yeah. Well, like Death Magnetic, and then their other newest one, whichever one just came out.
The other one that doesn't matter.
Nothing else matters.
Ooh, okay, all right.
That's
the album we're gonna go with.
This guy.
No, we're definitely not. I just had to throw that reference.
What is everyone's experience with Pokemon? Me, I played the first game. That was it. My brother was obsessed with it, and he's 7 years younger than me. I'm an 80s kid, so like to me, I was in high school when Pokemon came out, and like I would watch the anime with him. But like he was all jazzed up about it. He got red and blue, and I think I borrowed one, and I was playing one, and then I would borrow the other and play the other one. I was like, This isn't really grabbing me. And then I remember I got yellow just because I wanted to play Pikachu, because I really loved Pikachu. And then I was like, all right, I'm done with this. And I never played any other Pokemon games, but he kept going. He did the Game Boy Advance ones, the DS ones. I think he stopped around the DS, I think. I don't think he has a 3DS, but what about you, Justin?
Well, I played Red when it came out. I didn't play Blue. I had friends that had Blue. I also enjoyed the anime a lot, and then I never really picked up the other ones. I didn't pick up Yellow because it just seemed really cheap to me. I was like, it's the same game except you play as Pikachu, whatever.
Like right off the bat.
As the other games came out, they started introducing more and more things, and to me at the time I was just like, they're just overcomplicating things. So I just kind of didn't follow it. And then years later, I came back at Diamond. And I was like, oh, wow, this is actually still really fun and still pretty cool. So I did, I think so I went, what was Gen 1, Gen 4, 5, and 6. And I haven't really, what are the last ones that came out? I can't even remember the name. Was it X and Y?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sun and Moon.
Sun and Moon just came out,
yeah.
Fairly recently.
I don't think I got Sun and Moon. I know I got Y. I got Y because my wife got X.
Do they have one on the Switch? Is that Sun and Moon?
No, that's Sword and Shield. That's coming out in November this year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Pokemon fans must be hyped for that game.
Yeah, we were talking about it at the beginning.
Right,
my wife is going absolutely crazy over this because they're releasing videos like every couple of weeks, and the most recent video is apparently very tantalizing, but she just wants those final evolutions.
Right. What about you guys?
Pokemon Blue was like literally my first video game that I ever played. I've been hooked. I've played every main series game since then.
Yeah, I started with Gold. I played like a little bit of that. Again, that same friend who I played Mario with and who told me to play drums. I saw him playing Pokemon Red and I was like, oh, that's so cool. But didn't have a Game Boy at the time. And by the time I got one, Gold came out. So been playing ever since. I've gotten every mainstream game since then. Yeah, same.
I couldn't have been any older than 6. Well, I remember picking up the N64 with the bundle pack when it came with Pokemon Stadium.
Oh yeah.
I remember the day we brought that home actually. So that was actually the first one I played. I was into the anime before that. It probably about a year or two, maybe 2 years later, I got a copy of Pokemon Silver. And that's when I actually started playing it. Then
Silver and Gold, I think, right?
Yeah, that's Gen 2.
But I had a copy of Gold, a copy of Silver, and a copy of Crystal. But I was already playing Silver, so I gave my brother Crystal actually. And then later on we got into Gen 3, and it wasn't until after Gen 3 that we got Gen 1 games and started playing those.
Okay.
But that was the general direction we went in with that.
Cool. Junichi Matsuda.
Yep, we've talked a little bit about Junichi previously when we did the Game Boy episode. Mostly involved in just all of the Pokemon games. Started doing music in 1989 with Mendel Palace, and then I'm not going to go through all of the Pokemon games because they are listed on every single one, including the remakes like Soul Silver and Fire Red, all the way up to Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon in 2017, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu in 2018. That's the Switch, the sort of Pokemon Go related game. Outside of the Pokemon games, I have Odoru. It's a Pokemon game, never mind. Odoru, Pokemon Ongakutai.
Pokemon Odoro sounds like, again, the deodorant thing. Like, it's just a Pokemon game that's actually deodorant. It's like they're really just trying to ham-fist that deodorant in, like a turducken.
True. In fact, from 1998 on, every one of their audio credits is a Pokemon game. So we'll go through their what they didn't do in Pokemon is Magical Taruruto-kun in 1992.
That was a Genesis game. That was a game. What's the name of the company? Game Freak that makes Pokemon?
Yes, Game Freak.
Game Freak has worked on very little outside of Pokemon. They did do that game. Yep. They did Drill Dozer. I'm sure Drill Dozer's on there.
Not for
no. Okay.
Not for.
So it must have been a different composer.
Yeah.
Okay.
They also have Mario and Wario '93.
Okay.
And Pulseman in 1994.
Oh yes.
And the last non-Pokemon game they have on here is Bushi Seryuden Futari no Yusha in 1997.
Oh, okay. That Mario and Wario game, I think, is a exclusive to Japan, but it's supposed to be really fun.
Yeah, it's an SNES title.
Yep. All right, so we're rounding the corner. This is our last track before we say farewell to our friends in Super Thrash Brothers. But we have some more questions for them that we'll ask after the break. But for now, let's listen to their Star Fox medley, and then afterwards we'll follow it up with a Star Fox tune. All right, that was the medley from the Super Thrash Brothers for Star Fox, one of my favorite franchises. This is Star Fox on the Super NES. This came out in 1993, and the track that we're going to be listening to is the Venom stage theme, and it's by Hajime Hirasawa. that was my final pick. That was the Star Fox medley from Super Thrash Bros. And then right after that, we played the Star Fox Super NES Classic. It came out in 1993, way back when. And that was Venom Bass Parts 1 and 3, and it's by Hajime Hirasawa. So right off the bat with this track, I didn't notice with the original Star Fox song, those little, like, violins or something, the like, you hear that, but then you got you got those very, very fast, speedy classical overtones that kind of flow through that track. But I think that these guys really kind of picked that up when they were working on Star Fox medley, and
I'd say they punched it up.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is like this medley flows so perfectly and so easily together from one part to another that you almost forget that you're listening to a Star Fox like medley.
Yeah.
You just are like, oh, I'm listening to just the entire Star Fox OST in one shot. Yeah. It just, the way that they made everything flow together sounds, again, so perfect.
I would agree with that, mostly because when I was listening to this, so I'll start off by saying that I love Star Fox, but I am not as familiar with the soundtrack as I would like to be.
Okay.
I've played the SNES game numerous times when I was a kid, the N64 game a handful of times, but I always get so focused on what's going on that I don't feel that I really notice the music all that much. I don't really pay enough attention to it to really say that I'm familiar with the soundtrack. So the track that you guys did, to someone who doesn't feel as familiar with it, felt like just one solid track. It didn't feel as much like a medley as these other ones that I am more familiar with.
Yeah.
It was just like one solid 4-minute track.
That's how you know that the transitions are working well. And also, the thing I wanted to comment on is Corneria is a very heavy metal song. You know, it's got those like synth hits, that kind of the orchestra synth hits that kind of pop in now and then that really bring life to the track and give it kind of a genre outside of just heavy metal with that shreddy guitar. And while you don't really necessarily get the exact synth hits with these guys, I still think that they nail the overall feeling and vibe of that heavy metal track and continue it all throughout the rest of the medley, not really dropping a beat, not really dropping back down to a classical music vibe, just kind of like flourished with guitar. It's like metal all the way, and it's balls to the wall. So but for you guys, when you were putting together these tracks, I know you specifically went for the first Star Fox game. Were your intentions ever to maybe explore some of the other ones, like maybe Star Fox 64 or some of the later games like Command or Assault or any of those other games? Or were you like, no, we're definitely going to do Super NES, like that's the classic one, that's the retro one, we're going to do that one?
Where did Star Wolf come from, Ryan?
Yeah, we actually pulled a couple elements from, future segments. Like Star Wolf is from N64, and we did listen to like Star Fox Assault. We listened to like a bunch of different versions of that before we really chose which one fit the best. And then also Venom has this B section that we kind of pull from the Corneria stage in Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense actually, now that I think about it. Because if you listen to the track in Smash Brothers, like that's what they're pulling it from. Which, Super Thrash Bros.
Yeah, you'll hear something similar in Brinstar from Metroid too. Actually, that whole B section is the same deal. We actually pulled that from a Smash Bros. Rendition.
Very nice.
Sorry, Eric, totally cut you off.
No, it's fine. I was just gonna comment on like both of those B sections actually are where we get like the most like heavy breakdowny parts of those two tracks.
And that's the stuff I go for.
Yeah.
I love those heavy breakdowns.
As far as pulling from the original games, like the SNES games, you'll notice this, like F-Zero is like that. For Metroid, we went back to the earliest version of that. I think that's got a lot to do with, at the time of picking the songs for that album, me being a stickler specifically, was going back for easier references and finding the OG version of it. Because like you guys had said with Metroid, it was like when you were playing it.
Right.
Like trying to pull that out of it. Kind of like with Bowser's Castle, you get that same feeling of hopelessness in it. Like if you were to find a newer rendition from like the Wii or something and and re-record it, you wouldn't get that same feeling.
Mm-hmm. Right, that's true. And especially going from chiptune to a more like live orchestral setting, like a lot of these games have gone with, well, most of them, not really Megaman, but a lot of the games end up doing like really big band stuff or orchestra type stuff. That's not something that you would normally see from a video game music cover band. So
yeah, that stuff's a little harder. Like when you go back to like Game Boy Advance, or the NES, the SNES, N64, and like GameCube. Once we hit like GameCube, or like, yeah, even that's kind of pushing it sometimes. It starts getting harder because of what their hardware was capable of, where they could have like 8,000 tracks of live recorded stuff. You know? It's not like back in the day where you got like 3-4 max.
Oh, sure. I mean, Red Book Audio totally changed the game on everything. So do you guys have a favorite Star Fox game?
I would probably have to say Assault, personally. There's so much variety to it, and I played the hell out of the multiplayer with that one with my friends.
Nice.
I put a lot of time into Star Fox 64. That was the one I definitely played the most. But I really like the idea of like Star Fox Adventure. If they were to like bring that back for Switch, like a newer, like make a new one in that same style, I think that'd be really cool.
I would say Command is my favorite. That's the one.
DS one.
That's
right?
the DS one.
I played that. That was a lot of fun too.
That was awesome, and that took a lot of elements from 2, actually. So all the stuff where you control your ships, and you have to like, there's a little bit more strategy behind it, as far as like, you have the map and you're supposed to move your ships in a specific path so that they can pick up missiles and like disarm different like enemies and whatnot. And in Command, it's a little different because you actually go and fight whatever you end up coming across on the map. And I thought Command was really well done. It had branching paths for the storyline too, which was really cool. So if you're a big storyline nut for Star Fox games, definitely well worth it. I think it's the most in my opinion, that's probably the best Star Fox game.
Wow, I feel wildly out of place here. I never played any of them until we were putting this medley together, and I wanted to get a better idea of what we were doing. I actually went out and bought the first Star Fox.
Okay.
And played it just to get, an idea of what was going on, so we could capture that immersion.
That's really cool. It's always fascinating to me to hear somebody say, I've never played this game, it's a classic, I'm playing it for the first time, and like, everyone has different experiences then, because it's a different world now. Like, growing up with these games, like, I grew up with Star Fox. Like, I remember getting it when it came out, just like being blown away at the graphics. And like, I can't imagine playing Star Fox now, the original Star Fox, for the very first time, and being like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. Like, I feel like I would look at it from like my modern eyes and be like, ugh, like, what's going on? This is so slow and polygony and
It's not at all the same. I think that's why our backgrounds in different games help. Like, personally, I'm a big Zelda nut, and Ryan's got Megaman under his belt, and I can't bring up some of the stuff from the next album we're doing because I don't want to rush that, but it helps to do that, and it kind of pushes you to trust a little bit. Like, if there's a series I don't know about, because our whole thing is to capture that immersion, to capture that nostalgic, that first ping that you feel when you hear that song and you go, oh, I know this song, like, I remember playing this, so you got to trust who knows that game well. Like, if it's a game that I don't know, the best I can do is go listen to the soundtrack and just make sure that it's accurate. I can't capture that nostalgic feeling. So you gotta let somebody else in our group do that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it totally does. That's pretty cool.
That seems like it works out really well, actually.
Yeah.
Been working so far.
Good stuff.
So Hajime Hirasawa, I mean, I don't necessarily know if we've talked about him too much, but he has not done all that much. Most of his credits are just for the original Star Fox game. I am finding that he's done some other stuff as well that he's labeled on, but like, it's more like featured tracks. It's not necessarily like stuff that he's done specifically. I can't really find any other composer stuff on here other than Star Fox. So I think he just did Star Fox stuff. I'm almost positive that he ended up becoming like a professor or a teacher somewhere or something like that. But he's most well known for doing the very first Star Fox. He was not involved in composing the sequel. That was Kozue Ishikawa and Yumiko Kanki. But his style of the more like hard rock kind of mixed with orchestral was kind of abandoned for a more just like orchestral, overall orchestral vibe, which I'm fine either way. I preferred like Star Fox 1 and Star Fox 2 because I feel like they captured an essence of that merging between like orchestral and hard rock, and also like a lot of like funk elements too, like a lot of like really cool bassy type stuff. So this is the point of the episode where we pick our favorite tracks. Now it's going to be a little different this time because we're going to also pick our favorite medley from Super Thrash Bros. So we're all going to pick, including the guys from the band. So let's let them go first since they're the guests of honor. Yeah. So guys, what are your favorite picks for your tracks? And then what are your favorite picks for the tracks that we picked out of the original compositions?
Okay, so as far as like the album goes, I think the Mario medley came out just sounding the best. It's just like really powerful when it finally gets out of the creepy section and hits that like bass drop and like that dive bomb. As far as like the OG songs, I really dig Venom and Ridley.
Okay.
So for me, I'm a little biased towards Star Fox for obvious drum solo reasons. For the original stuff, the original music, I would have to go with Pokemon Trainer Battle. It's just, there's so much going on. It's so powerful and it's so well put together.
Nice.
I'll start with the original first. I'll say Bowser's Castle, hand down for the original. As far as ours go, I'm torn between the Mario and F-Zero. Those two, to me, are great. But I guess I would say F-Zero as a whole.
All right.
Yeah, if I had to pick for ours, like an entire medley, I would say F-Zero.
Okay.
Fair enough. Cool.
I'm going to go with Star Fox for the medley.
Okay.
I think that is the most unique sounding of the bunch. They really did a great job of combining both the orchestral and metal environments for that. But for original, I'm going to go with Flashman. Megaman 2.
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
I did. I'm also going to go with Flashman.
Okay.
That's why I had a feeling you were going to go for that, because I was... Not that we often pick the same thing, but just, like, I was leaning towards Flashman, and I was just like, I feel like Mike might go for Flashman.
It was torn between that and Bowser's Castle just because of the, the nostalgia for Larry's Castle.
Yep, of course.
Yeah.
And for the Super Thrash Brothers tracks, I am going to have to go with the Mario medley. It was just a really well put together piece. I really liked the creepy Luigi's Mansion stuff, and then once you get out of that into the Bowser's Castle piece, it really got me going.
Creepathon.
So before we really wrap up here, I want to let you guys kind of get on top of a soapbox here and give our listeners the what for as far as how they can find you, where they can listen to you, where they can purchase your music, because they should. Give us all the deets.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We bought their albums.
What's up,
that.
guys? Now the fans
That's
gotta buy
only
it.
fair.
That's right.
Give your money to these people.
So where can we find you guys on the web, and where can we get your stuff?
The best place to find our everything is at superthrashbros.com. It's got links to all of our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You know the deal.
Right, and that's bros. It's just bros, not brothers. It's superthrashbros.com, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
We've got a Patreon. We've got YouTube. We've been streaming on Twitch. We just recently started a Nuzlocke race against a fellow streamer of ours.
Okay.
superthrashbros.com will take you everywhere you need to go. You can buy our album digitally or physically there. You can buy all of our merch there.
Each of our site kind of offers something different. Like Twitch is cool because you get to interact with us and all that. YouTube, we throw stuff up there from time to time, whether it's live videos or older Patreon videos, because that's kind of what that deal is. If you go to our Patreon, you get behind the scenes footage and stuff like that. You get a little recognition on those videos. If you're a higher tier donor, you get your name thrown up there and all that.
Cool.
Yeah, it's each thing's got something different for everyone. We don't just go to every site and just plaster the same. I mean, we do, but everything's got a little extra to it.
Right,
that
right.
You won't find everywhere else.
For sure. Very cool.
Can we do a bit with what's it called? Like upcoming shows?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely, sure. Yeah, go for it.
They can catch us at Retro Game Con in Syracuse, November 2nd and 3rd.
There you go.
Nice.
Awesome.
We will be playing the after party. It's going to be pretty crazy.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I actually really...
Bias drinks.
I was really kind of wanting to go because Lame Genie, I believe, is going to be there as well. They're our buddies, too.
Syracuse in November.
They are great. We love them to death.
Yeah, they're super fun.
I have a friend who lives up near Syracuse. I might have to see what I can do.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
More light bulbs.
So, we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons, without whom this show's continued improvement would be impossible. They are Alex Messenger, Scott McElhone, Cam Worma, Chris Murray, Kung Fu Carlito of the Heroes 3 podcast, Jordan and Anson Davis, Chris Myers, Jeremy Rutz, Peter Panda, Brad Austin, and the Autistic Gamer 89. If you would like to become a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/XVGMradio. There you can see the different tiers as well. Just $1 gets you a thank you and access to our monthly live shows.
You can visit our website, xvgmradio.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and learn more about your hosts, as well as any of our guests or composers that we've had on the show.
If you'd like to reach out to us, you can always email us at xvgmradio@gmail.com.
And if you'd like what you've heard, please consider giving us a rating on iTunes and a review.
You can also join our Facebook group and chat with other VGM lovers at www.facebook.com/groups/XVGM Radio, where we talk about everything from current game news to sharing awesome VGM tracks, or just talking about the podcast itself.
And you can find us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle for both of those sites is @XVGM Radio.
If you don't have any other social media or just want to try something unique, check us out on our Discord group chat. Links will be in the show notes.
All right, so that does it for us here at XVGM Radio. Again, we want to thank our guests of honor, Super Thrash Brothers. Great having you guys on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, kind sirs.
It was a blast.
Absolutely. So now, what are we moving on to next, Justin?
So the next episode is going to be an interesting episode because we are doing a panel at Retro World Expo here in Connecticut
On September 28th and 29th.
Yep. It's up in the Connecticut Convention Center in Hartford, Connecticut. So if you're going to be in the area or you're going to be there, come find us. We'll be around. I'm going to wear my XVGM Radio t-shirt on Saturday because that is the day that we have a panel.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. I'll probably wear mine too.
Yeah. But
our panel this year is at Room C, Panel Room C.
Yep.
It's at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
And it's going to be a Super NES versus Genesis episode.
Yes.
Kind of a monumental episode to take on. But we're going to be doing focus on audience participation. So that'll be the big focus. It's going to be more about like getting cheers, getting big listens. Hopefully we get a pretty decent crowd.
Yep. It's going to be a little different than our regular episodes because our regular episodes we usually shoot for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. We only have an hour for this panel.
Right. It's going to be music first.
Yeah, so we are going to be focused very much on getting the music played and then getting reactions from the audience to sort of let folks that are there choose, who the winner is.
Right.
It's a constant war between, the SNES and the Genesis, and we're gonna solve it once and for all.
Well, I don't know if we're going to solve it, but we're certainly going to add some colorful commentary to the discussion.
Yes, we will.
So be there or be, I don't know.
Pixel-shaped.
Be pixel-shaped?
Square?
Oh. Sure. That works.
Yes.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to be on a panel. I do a bunch of panels all throughout the year, but the XVGM stuff I'm super excited about.
Yeah,
so.
I haven't done a panel in a number of years. I used to do gaming panels at some gaming conventions, so this will be fun.
Cool. Awesome. All right, so this is Mike
And Justin.
signing off for XVGM Radio. He did this game. I don't know if you've heard of it, Justin. Shoot, what's it called?
Legend of Zelda?
Like History of Link, or something like that. Like Journey of Octorok.
Journey of Octorok.
Journey of Octorok.
I think that one was Ganon's Quest, actually.
Oh, Ganon's Quest.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah.
You're right.
Legend of Zelda is obviously the name I'm going for. So
It's funny because before he said anything, that's exactly what I was like. He's gonna say Zelda.
he's gonna say Zelda. Yeah, it's Legend of Zelda. Legend of Zelda. So
Legend of Zerudo.
Legend